Get ready. I want you to get ready. Only thing I want you to do is to be ready. This is the broadcast that will talk about open and honest conversations every time we come live. I want you to get ready. Get ready, prepare yourself. Things happen all the time. There's always things coming at us. Get ready, strap your seatbelt on real tight, and get ready because you are embarking in. This is
The Raheen Ashimi Show.
all right. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Raheen Ashimi Show. I'm your host, Raheen Ashimi, and I am Elephant Elated, Porcupine Proud, and so happy to have a guest that we're going to have on today. We're going to talk about some things that's going on past, present, and possibly in the future. Our guest today is Dr. Jane Elliott. If you don't know her, you need to know her. You need to get to know her because she is the one that's going to tell you the absolute truth about the past, the present, and the future. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to some and present to others Dr. Jane Elliott. Good morning, young lady. Good morning. I'm used to the morning glow. Good
Number
afternoon.
one, I'm not young or a lady, but thank you for the appellation.
Absolutely. It is first I want to thank you for being here with us today. I know you got a lot going on and that you took the time to talk to us. I'm so happy that you would do that. So thank you very much for your time and giving us the opportunity to have a conversation with you. Um, if you don't mind, just say something to introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself before we get started. Would you mind doing that?
No, I am what we call a white woman. Number one, I'm not white because there are no white people, but I am a woman. And I did the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise in discrimination in my classroom the day after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. And as a result of that, I've learned more than I wanted to learn and know more than I wanted to know. And am extremely disgusted that I'm still having to teach it to other people 55 years after I began.
So let me ask you this, and you said something, and you've done so much, and I've been following you for quite a while now. What do you think it's going to take? We're going to talk about some of the past history. We're going to talk about some of the things that's going on today, and hopefully how we can change it in the future. But why do you think we're still in the place that we're in right now? Because it would appear as though in 2025, all this racism thing and all this stuff that's going on right now would have been behind us. Why isn't it?
Because racism is an extremely profitable venture. Mm-hmm. If you can convince the population of your country that having the different colored skin makes you either superior or inferior, and force people to work because you convince them that they are inferior because of the color of their skin, why would you change the situation? What we have to do if we want to change the situation at all is change our language. Words are the most powerful weapon devised by humankind. A man named Torquemada in the late 1400s came up with the idea of separating people according to the color of their skin because he wanted to turn everybody in Spain into Catholics. Mm-hmm. So he called the lighter brown people white because white is the color of goodness and purity. He called the darker skinned people black because black is the color of savagery and evil. And at that moment, he turned us all into enemies of one another. It is a good idea for white people who are good and pure to kill those who are savage and evil based only on the color of their skin. And we've been doing it for less than 500 years. It's time to put a stop to it, and it's time to put a stop to it now. We've got to get rid of the words black and white when we refer to skin colors. People do not come in white, black, red, or yellow. They come in shades of brown because we all came from the same place originally, which was a country on the continent of Africa where people had to have a lot of melanin in their skin to protect themselves from the damaging rays of the sun. That's the reason for skin color, and the only skin color that is found among human beings, shades of brown. Let's get over this white and black nonsense and start referring to people as members of the family of man, which is what we were before Torquemada decided he was going to turn us into white and black people. Mm-hmm. It's time to drop the words white and black when referring to skin colors. There are no white people and there are no black people. Mm-hmm. Now, I've made everybody in your audience angry. You have my sympathy, and you'll find it in the dictionary, but you will not get it from me because it's time to get rid of those two words, which are totally inaccurate when describing skin color among members of the human race.
Absolutely. Now, how much of what's going on right now, or what has been going on, has does it have anything to do with economics at all? Because I heard you say something
It
about.
has to do with ignorance. It has to do with self-imposed ignorance, and it has to do with the willingness of people to remain ignorant in order to avoid giving up their self-image of perfection. Now, as long as it makes money to call people white and let white people tell other people how to behave because of a lie, that's how long we'll have this problem. The only color that really counts in the United States of America is green, which is the color of our money. And we know that if we can keep a group down and keep this other group up, we can deny the facts of life. You need to realize that only 15 to 18% of the population, the human population of the earth, is classified as white. And it's a misclassification because we are white. But we have all taken it on because white folks have told us that we are going to colonize, that we white males have done all the valuable discovering and inventing and producing, and all the good things that have been done by white males according to white history. It's a lie. It's a damned lie, and we need to get over it, and we need to stop telling it, and we need to stop believing it. And we have right now, in front of our faces right now, a man from South Africa, who's really a boy from South Africa, who is going to purchase the United States of America from a man for whom the United States is for sale. And those two people are going to destroy this democracy if we don't all get together as members of the family of man and defeat them together. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us getting together and realizing that we're all members of the same race and the same color group, and we are not going to allow these two fools who really believe in the rightness of whiteness to set this country on a terrible, terrible downturn. And that's what's going on right now.
Dr. Elliott, how did we get here? Because I see every day there's something different going on with this administration that I do not agree with at all. And for the record, I want to say that I don't agree with this administration at all. How do we get to the point where we're allowing them to do the things that they're doing?
Because we have been screen addicted. We have become screen addicted. I remember when Marshall McLuhan in the late 50s wrote a book in which he said, keep your kids away from television, it will ruin their minds. And that's exactly what has happened. People watch Fox News. Now, the word Fox, I don't generally pronounce it that way, because in the words come and some and mother and love, the O stands for the short U sound. Mr. Murdoch Rupert Murdoch has turned Fox News into Fox News.
Yes,
and you need to realize that that's where a lot of these people are getting their news, from a station, from people who are determined to keep white people on top and everybody else on the bottom. 15 to 18% of the population of the earth is classified as white. Are you going to allow 15 to 18% of the population of the earth to rule this country? Give me a break.
Exactly.
It's time for us to realize that there are no white people and there are no black people. So those of us who are shades of brown, have got to get together and teach these young folk, these are young, Mr. Trump and Mr. whatever his name is, Musk, I call him Scum. Trump and Scum are not brilliant and they're not young. They're ignorant and they're wealthy. And they're wealthy because they prey upon other people's ignorance. And the number one ignorance in the United States of America is the ignorance of believing in more than one race and more than one color group. We've got to change the education system so that we tell kids the truth.
Exactly.
Or if we could just get people to learn the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. Think about this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice. Now, look at Mr. Trump. 32 felony convictions. Ensure domestic tranquility. Starts a riot in Washington, D.C. Provide for the common defense. No, he isn't using the military to provide for the common defense. He's using it to close the border on the southern border of the United States. Promote the general welfare. As he's going to get rid of Social Security and all the other good things that we've put together over the last 250 years, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. No, he is taking liberty away from all of us except those who look like him and who will support his idiocy. Now, all we have to do is put the preamble of the Constitution up in every school, in every classroom, in every school building in the United States of America. And in the morning, instead of saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag with the words "under God" in it, which were not there until Dwight Eisenhower put it there in response to the Knights of Columbus insisting that we put the words "under God" in the pledge. They do not belong there. Instead of saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, let's teach these kids the preamble of the Constitution and take them through it and let them see which of those principles that are outlined in the preamble are being violated every day by the wannabe president of the United States. He has violated every one of them this last 2 weeks.
Wow. Now, I say all the time, Dr. Elliott, in order to wake people up, sometimes you have to shake them up. What do we as adult people, human beings, what do we have to do? What are the steps? What are the bricks that is going to take to build a successful future?
Here's the first thing you have to do. You have a dollar bill, you have any paper currency, United States currency, take it out, and where it says "In God We Trust," underneath it put "All others pay cash." Now, you will be defacing the money of the United States of America, and you can go to jail for it. So don't pass that bill where somebody knows you. Pass it where nobody knows you, and they won't realize where it came from. It's time for us to start telling the truth on our money. When I was a kid, I went to meet my father at the restaurant. He was going to give me a ride home from school. And there on the wall was a sign that said, "In God We Trust." And underneath it, it said, "All others pay cash." I started to laugh when I read it. And my dad said, "What's so funny?" I said, "Read that sign." And he did. And he said, "By God, that's right." It has stuck in my head until this day. It's time for us to take the references to God off our money. Because if you really believe in God, you don't need money. But what we believe in this country is money. It is our God. You know that, and I know that. It's time for us to realize that if you're really going to believe in that nonsense, then let's practice it. Instead of just preaching it, let's practice it. In God we trust? No, we don't trust in God. We trust in money. And because we trust in money, we have a fool from South Africa who has come to this country and got in illegally. He said the wrong things on his wanting to the stuff he had to sign, the papers he had to sign to get in, lied on those papers and got away with it because he's a multi-billionaire. Because money is the most important thing. Right now, in this country, the people who are running this show, for them, money is the most important thing. Citizenship doesn't matter. Being loyal or being a person who you can be trusted, being trustworthy doesn't matter. What matters is being wealthy. And however you have to get money, you go ahead and get it. And we will appreciate you because you have money. This is not what the United States of America was supposed to be about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have, with everything that's in front of us right now, Dr. Elliott, do you have any confidence in the future of this country?
Absolutely, I have. You damn right I have. I have all kinds of confidence in the future of this country because I know that people from the ages of 15 to 35 know better than to follow this fool. And they are standing in the streets and they are protesting on a daily basis in this country, and they're going to continue to do it until T. Rump and company shut up, sit down, and obey the preamble of the Constitution and the Constitution itself. We have a document which, if followed, can put it back on track.
Yes.
We're off track because we have allowed a fool from South Africa, who, as I understand it, has 11 children and no wives, which is a pretty good trick in itself, but it is a trick. This is the one we want to follow into the wilderness? I don't think so. I think people have to wake up, have to listen to these young people who realize that this is all. Look, young people have nothing to lose. They can get out in the street and raise all kinds of problems because they got nothing to lose. You can't fire them. You can't fire being young. You just have to put up with it. But you have to allow them to become old and become wise by refusing to follow someone who is obviously not very bright. Donald Trump is obviously not very bright.
Not
and
at
he
all.
is where he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is where he is because he has money and he is willing to spend it to destroy this democracy because he does not realize how valuable a democracy is.
Now, let me ask you this question here. What does it say? What does it say about a part of our country that actually voted for him and put him in office for a second term?
It says we've done a bad job of educating students. I'm an educator. The word educator comes from the root deuce, which means lead, the prefix e, which means out, the suffix ate, which means the act of, and the suffix or, which means one who does. An educator is one who leads people out of ignorance. Now, Mr. Trump couldn't pass any of the courses in high school. His father put him into a military academy. He couldn't do that either. They kicked him out of that too, which is one of the reasons why he hates the military, except when he needs them to enforce his rules. He is not real bright. He got where he is because he can trick people into giving him money. He has declared bankruptcy several times.
Yes.
Because he isn't really good at anything he does except lying. And he does that consistently and well. And unfortunately, there are numerous people in this country who will listen to him because even though he's a liar and we know it, he has money, so he must be good. This is what's wrong with this whole situation. We have done a bad job of educating people. We need to teach students that having wealth does not automatically mean that you're the best person in the country to lead us. And it's obvious that this wealthy man is not the best person to lead this country into the future. He has no idea what it takes to be a leader of people for the future. He only wants to be a leader of people for his own self-aggrandizement and his own wealth. That's not enough to live for. Most people don't live for that. Most people live to be a better human being. Absolutely. He has no intention of being a better human being because he thinks he's good enough as he is. When you hold the Bible upside down and preach as though you know what it's talking about, you got a problem.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. What, Dr. Elliott, what do the conversation look like that we would have to have with each other to separate, to bring us more together so that we can understand that we have to unite? In order to move forward, we have to unite. You said that a couple of times, and I believe you. But what does that conversation look like?
We are one nation. We have to say to one another, we are different shades of brown, but we are all members of the same race. And we brown-skinned people have to get together and refuse to allow anyone to separate us on the basis of their ignorance about skin color. That's the first thing we have to do. We have to realize that we are all 30th to 50th cousins of one another. And what negatively affects that cousin of mine negatively affects me, and I will not allow it to persist. We have to refuse to allow people to be abused because of somebody else's ignorance about skin color. We have to refuse to allow people to be abused because of somebody else's ignorance about gender or gender orientation. We have to refuse to allow people to be abused because of somebody else's ignorance about age. Those things you cannot dictate.
Exactly. But, now, what do you say? What do you say to the person that if they stood before you and say racism has always been here and it'll never go away? What do you say to that person?
They're wrong. They're wrong. It hasn't always been here. It started in the late 1500s. The word race to mean a specific. Listen to me. The word race to mean a specific group of people came out of France in 1580. This is ridiculous.
Yes.
Have we not learned anything since 1580?
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right. And if you turn wow upside down, it's
It is. It is. Absolutely. And I feel the way that you feel, and I've heard many people say on many different occasions that it's always been here and it'll never go away. I can't hold
They're
on.
Wrong.
I can't
wrong.
hold
They're
it.
using that as an excuse for not changing their own self-imposed ignorance. They're wrong. It hasn't always been here, and it will go away if we decide to kill it. This isn't like measles. We don't need a shot for this.
Mm-hmm.
We need education for this. And we need educators who say to their students, that child over there is one of my 30th to 50th cousins. Don't abuse him.
Mm-hmm.
That child over there is one of my 30th to 50th cousins. Don't abuse her.
Mm-hmm.
Do not use one another. Do not use or abuse one another. And do not try to confuse me, because
Mm-hmm.
you and I know that there's only one race. It's the
Yes.
human race. We're all members of it.
Dr. Elliott, you did an experiment at one of the universities.
No, I didn't. I did an exercise.
I'm sorry, you did an exercise where you asked white people to stand up, well, people that call themselves white people to stand up, and asked which one of you would change places with a black person. I know that I saw that and I looked at that, and it was so powerful. But what did you get from that?
What I got from that was, if you confront people publicly and ask them a question that makes perfectly good sense,
Mm-hmm.
and they respond in a way that is honest and true, oh my God,
Yes.
the learning that takes place in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many of you white folks would like to live? We force people who consider themselves black to live in this society. Nobody rises. Nobody raises their hand. Nobody stands. They all just look at one another like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you say to a group, the same group, how many of those of you who are considered black want to be white?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to be white. They want to be exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Which is a color, a shade of brown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we all are.
Mm-hmm.
When we stop using the words white and black, we will have done with this problem.
Mm-hmm. Separation.
I'm not white and you're not black. And if you think I'm white, you've got an eye problem. And if I thought you were black, I would have an eye problem.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. We all know the difference, but it's just easier to go along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to get along anymore. Of course, I'm 91 years old. I'm not going to be here much longer. You don't have to worry about me. However, if even 5 people, upon hearing what I have to say, decide to give up the words white and black when referring to skin color among human beings, that means I have made a difference.
Yes.
And every one of us has the responsibility to make a difference in the area of racism. And the way you do that is to refuse to go along with racism and the ignorance of thinking there's more than one race of people on the face of the earth and more than one color group, which there isn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true. Absolutely true. Dr. Elliott, if a person were to ask you how you would like to be remembered, or what would be the thing of your life that you want people to remember most about you and your work, what would that be?
I'd like for them to remember that I was born in 1933.
Mm-hmm.
And 91 years later, I am hearing the same kinds of things being preached by a tyrant that my father was protesting from 1933 until 1945.
Mm-hmm.
From 1930 to 1945, we fought Adolf Hitler. Now, we have a man who has become President of the United States by practicing what Adolf Hitler did,
Mm-hmm.
and by deciding that he can do what Adolf Hitler did, and he can construct in this country what Adolf Hitler constructed in Germany.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we have a population that isn't wise enough or educated enough to see what's going on or what to do about it. I want to be remembered that from 1933 until 1945, we fought somebody who was idolized by this man who wasn't alive when Hitler was doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler was dead before this man was born.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
I think you need to look that up.
mm-hmm.
But he does not remember what happened during the Hitler years as anything but wonderful because he didn't live through them. I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so did many of them, so did a whole lot of my Jewish friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they know that we'll go right back to that unless we put a stop to this Hitlerite, who is now the president of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm. Truth. Now, you lived during the time where racism was running rapid. And I know with you having the heart that you have, you spoke out, and you always been the person that you are right now. So how much pushback did you get during that time? Or do you even get still today because of your stance?
See, it becomes more and more ridiculous every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I keep getting letters from people who want to kill me.
Wow.
And they keep telling me how they're going to do it. And I read those letters, and I used to think I was going to publish a book, and on the left-hand page I was going to put those hate mails, and on the right-hand page I was going to put those letters that say nice things about me. And then I thought, why would you do that? You'll be giving publicity to those people who hate you. So now I just delete the letters and laugh a lot, because why would anyone be so frightened of a short, plump, old woman that they want to kill her to shut her up? Do you realize how much power that gives me?
Mm-hmm.
And do you realize how powerless that makes the people who want me dead?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And they aren't worried about me because I'm an old white woman. Number one, I'm not white, but I am old. They're worried about me because of what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to hear it. But the only way they can stop me is to kill me. And then they'll make a martyr out of me.
Exactly.
And they might have to spend the rest of their lives celebrating Jane Elliott Day once a year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think they're going to kill me?
No.
No. They'll try to discredit me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're welcome to try to discredit me, because they cannot destroy the truth. And the truth is, we're all members of the same race, and we're all members of the same color group, and anybody who thinks differently from that needs a good educator. Mm-hmm. And if they can't figure it out by themselves, they can come to my house, and I'll teach them the difference between right and wrong. And I'll teach them the difference between race and no race. Mm-hmm. There's only one race, and we're all members of it.
Exactly.
And no matter how ignorant you are still a member of the same race that I am. Mm-hmm. And no matter what you think your skin color is, you are still a member of the same color group that I am. And that's shades of brown. Get over it, people.
Exactly.
Come with me, join the human race, and treat one another like human beings. Like human beings who deserve equitable treatment under the law. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to do that, read the book, The Color of Law, and then you'll understand why you must. Mm-hmm.
Now, you spoke earlier about Martin Luther King, and you said how what happened to him happened in that way. But he said, I have a dream that one day people will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Now, that was back in 19...
But you see, as long as all you see is skin color, you don't see content of one's character, because you have been conditioned to the myth of the superiority of those who have lighter colored skin. So we have to disabuse people of the idea that there are several different skin colors, because there aren't. I have an idea that someday my children will be judged on the content of their character, because skin color is important to them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As long as the color of your skin is more important than what's inside that skin, we've got a problem.
A major
problem. Once we say to all of us, we're all members of the same race, you got to get over it, folks. This is it. You are my 30th or 50th cousin, and I am going to tolerate you as long as you don't run your mouth in ways that let me know that you believe that there are several different races and that you're a member of the superior one. Exactly. The minute you express that feeling in my presence, you are going to wish you hadn't, because I'm going to feel obligated to educate you, and you are not going to like that education, because it rattles the foundation of you. If your self-image is based on the amount of melanin in your skin, you got a problem.
Absolutely. Now,
you need to know that if you are my color, you will die of melanoma someday, because you don't have enough melanin in your skin to protect yourselves from the damaging rays of the sun. And as this climate change gets worse and worse, more and more pale pale, stale males are going to look for someone of color with whom to reproduce so that their grandchildren and great-grandchildren will survive. That's what is going to solve this problem, is when pale, stale males realize that their days are numbered unless they change their behavior and change the way they treat those who are a color that they think is different from their own. Because it isn't.
Exactly.
There's only one skin color on Earth, and it's shades of brown. So let's just realize that we aren't birds. Birds come in all kinds of different colors. Human beings only come in one, shades of brown.
Exactly. Dr. Elliott, I've been watching for a while, and I've never seen a situation whereas I've seen you fearful or take a step back. Dr. Elliott, what are you afraid of? Or are you afraid of anything?
What am I afraid of?
Yes, ma'am.
God, at my age, what is there to be afraid of?
Okay.
The only thing I fear is that I'll get the same cold that I got 2 weeks ago when I went to Iowa and I was sicker than a dog for a week. I don't want to do that again. But I was lying there thinking I'm going to die. And I thought, I've left a will. I've left my trust. So what? So what if I die? Then it won't hurt anymore. And I'll stop coughing.
Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you.
Death isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Living a worthless life is worse than dying.
And
if when you die, you didn't make a difference. If when you die, you didn't make a difference, you should have died sooner. My dad used to say to us on a weekly basis, you know the difference between right and wrong? Now do the right thing, goddammit. And I'd think, he swore, that's wrong. And he'd look at me, and I didn't open my mouth. Because I knew the right thing. I knew the right thing was not to try to correct my father. Absolutely right. We know the difference between right and wrong. It's time for us to do the right thing. If it costs us money, if you're right, you were right. If it loses you friends, you're still right. If your family disowns you and won't speak to you for the rest of your life, that's okay. If you did the right thing.
Exactly.
Because if you do the right thing, they are going to disown you. Because doing the right thing is difficult.
Yes. Yes,
but
it is.
You never have to apologize for it.
Now, you said something just now about losing family members, losing friends, or different things of that nature. Like I said, I've been watching for a while from a distance, and I know that from listening to you, your family had a family business. I think it was a restaurant, if I'm not mistaken. And some things happened, and your dad came to your rescue because you took a certain stance.
No, that's not what happened. When I came to the rescue of my parents. My parents needed a place to live, and they moved into the restaurant, into the hotel that my husband and I had purchased. And then my mother kicked me out of the family and took over ownership of the hotel.
Wow.
Yeah, and when she kicked me out of the family, my 5 brothers and sisters stopped having anything to do with me, and I didn't see them or hear from them for about 15 years. Yeah, so this is refusing to go along to get along has cost me in ways that I didn't anticipate. But those ways I do not regret, because they haven't stopped me, and they haven't stopped the idea, and you can't stop the truth. You can try, but the truth is that there's only one race of people on the face of the earth, and they all come in shades of brown. That's the truth. And for most of the population of the world, of the United States particularly, that's difficult to swallow, because white folks think they're right. And now, over the last 30 years, what we call black folks have finally gotten a foothold. But it's a foothold based on something that doesn't exist, which is black skin. We should have learned from watching what white people who based their self-image on something that doesn't exist, which is white skin. We should have learned something from watching them try, succeed, fail, try, succeed, fail, to force the world to see them as white when we don't, because they aren't. We aren't white. It's time to give that up. And people who consider themselves black had better look at what's happening to what we call white folks right now, Because now the whole world is coming around to the idea that, wait a minute, there are no white and black people. We're all shades of brown. So let's start treating people as people who deserve equitable treatment under the law. And let's start writing laws that treat us all equitably. Let's do that. And then skin color won't matter anymore.
Exactly.
The day will come when skin color will no longer matter because there's only one.
And I want people to envision this for a second, where we totally take color out of the equation and we dealt with each other based on who we are and how we conduct ourselves and how we carry ourselves. How beautiful of a world would this be if we dealt with each other based on, we didn't worry about color. Color has no issue. It is not an issue in how we interact with each other. Dr. Elliott, how beautiful
when color becomes neither positive nor negative.
Exactly.
You will have solved this problem.
And how beautiful would that be?
As long as you can blame your dislike or justify your dislike of another person on the basis of a lie, which is the lie of blackness and whiteness, as long as you can do that, you're going to have a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We have to give it up. Just give it up. I'm perfectly happy to give up my whiteness. And the reason I am is because I don't have it. I've never been white. I'll never be white. It ain't gonna happen. And you've never been black. And you've never been black, and you'll never be black.
Yes.
You're gonna be shades of brown, and I'm gonna be shades of brown, and we are going to exist on this earth as people who are members of the same race and the family of man.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Dr. Elliott, we have a...
No, it's not beautiful. It's common sense. And common sense in uncommon amounts is what the world calls wisdom.
Come on. Come on. We have a caller. Is it okay for me to go to the caller? Can the caller ask you a question as well?
I don't care. If he asks me a question, I'll answer it. He might not like the answer.
Badger, you're on, brother. How you doing tonight?
Hey, it's awesome. And I am very honored to hear Dr. Jane Elliott's voice. It's an honor to talk with you, man.
What can I do for
you? Man, there's so much. I know there's a limited amount of time. So I figured a lot of what you were talking about when I was young, and I was introduced to you later in life in my 20s. That was about 19 years ago. And it actually drove me into studying sociology. But how did we get to where we got? And the power of labels and the power of words, and how it affects the subconscious, especially in what would
come on, Badger.
Generational trauma, I guess, is the word I'm trying to find. I also carry the label of autism, so I do apologize. Sometimes words can take me a minute.
But you see, I couldn't tell you were autistic until you told me.
Exactly. Badger.
I bet if I could see you, I could tell whether you were white or black. Right?
I'm a half-blood. I'm half native, but I have what's called white skin. But my tribe is... You're
not a half anything. You're not a half anything.
I'm a human.
Hold on, Badger.
Come on.
Right.
If you allow yourself to be dictated by that terminology, that's how long this nonsense will go on. You aren't half of anything. You're a whole human being.
Wow.
100% agree.
Wow.
100% agree.
And you're unique on the face of the earth. There's only one of you.
And so for someone that's trying to also learn to talk in a similar manner as you do, especially when coming across folks that absolutely seems to not want to even attempt to think in that way, what are your suggestions?
Ignore them. Avoid them. It's not your job to educate the ignorant. It's their job to get over their self-imposed ignorance. That's not your job. You don't have to do that. You know what you are. You know what they think you are, and you know you aren't what they think you are, and you have the right to be what you are, not according to what they have decided you are or how they're going to describe you, but according to what you are. Mm-hmm. You're a unique human being on the face of the earth, and you have the right to be unique and to feel unique and to know that you are unique and to know that you do not have to descend to somebody else's description of you. You do not have to fit somebody else's description of you. Mm-hmm. We've got all kinds of words to describe people. Most of them are totally inaccurate. Absolutely. About 99% of the time. Mm-hmm. Word, and then we use it forever because nobody says to us, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. It's time to stop using that ridiculous term. That's the point at which we have reached today in the United States of America where skin color is concerned. And someday we'll reach that point where autism is concerned. Somebody is going to come up with something and say, oh, wait a minute, we mislabeled those people. Mm-hmm. This is a whole different situation that we've got going here, and because we used words. Mm-hmm. If you use the same word long enough, it becomes accepted by the people, and that's exactly what we've done with race. Mm-hmm. We've accepted that term ever since 1580. It's time to give it up, and eventually we'll give up autism. Mm-hmm. Totally something totally different from the way it has been described, because we allow the experts to tell us how we should think about all these things, and then eventually somebody turns around and comes up with a new word and says, wait a minute, why don't we call it this? And then all of a sudden it's a whole different thing. And that's exactly what's going to happen with skin color. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden it's going to be a whole different thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Does that make sense to you?
Badger?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense to me, because I've been working on my verbiage of saying that I am called ahaploid, I am called autistic, because that is the label that they put on me.
You don't have to accept I'm a human being. You don't have to accept those labels. You can say, look, I have a unique way of thinking about things. You can't match it, that's your problem. Mm-hmm. I have a unique way of seeing things. You can't match it, that's your problem. Don't ask me to think the way you do because you think your way is right. If you can call me autistic all you want to, but here is what I believe, here is what I'm going to do, here is what I think I can do, here is what I'm capable of doing, and you aren't going to wipe that out for me, no matter what label you put on me.
Exactly. Dr. Elliott, we have another.
See, women live with this all the time. Mm-hmm. From the moment they're born until the moment they die, which is long after most of the men in their environment die, women live with the label of being female. Mm-hmm. And they forget that in order to get the word female for a woman, they had to add the chemical symbol for iron, Fe, to the word for male. We totally forget that.
That's powerful.
And that's the reason we will outlive you. Mm-hmm. Because we are stronger than you are. But we are conditioned from birth to think that we are the weaker sex. We don't know what we're talking about. We need a leader, and we'll accept as a leader somebody who calls himself sometimes the Orange Man because of the way he dyes his hair. Come on. Mm-hmm. Let's get real here.
Exactly. We have another call.
There are worse things. Let me tell you something. There are worse things than being autistic. Mm-hmm. Being determinedly racist because you decide it's a good way to be and staying that way. That's worse than being autistic.
Absolutely.
It's a choice you make. We make bad choices every single day, and we get reinforced for making bad choices, and we end up with somebody like Dinosaurus T. Rump in the White House, which should be changed to the president's residence, because naming that building the White House when it was built gave it exactly the wrong name, and it looks like it's only for white folks. I remember when Richard Nixon said to a group of reporters, "I've been trying to save the White House for you white people." Mm-hmm. And at that point, I changed from being his political party, let me tell you. I thought the White House is called that in order to save it for white people? My God, there aren't any white people. So who gets to go there?
Yeah. If there's
Words are the most powerful weapon devised by humankind. We use them to keep people like you in their place all their life.
Exactly.
So people like you have to use them. People like you have to use them to get out of the place that we have made for you and make a place of your own.
That's good. We have another caller from the 678 area code. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Dr. Jordan.
Hey, Dr. Jordan. Good afternoon.
My question, comment, if you will. I like what she said about allowing people to give us titles versus us picking our own titles. And to me, there's nothing worse than allowing people to tell us to give us a title. And I think what's worse is that we accept those titles, especially Down syndrome, ADHD, all these. I think that's ridiculous that we even come in agreement with that foolishness. And I like how you said, I'm not going to let anyone give me a title. You call me what I tell you to call me, and I'll be what I say I am versus what other people. So my question is, should people, and maybe I answered my question before I said the question, but what would you say to people that allow people to give them titles versus introducing people according to their titles?
Don't accept
and we're
the
not talking
title.
about titles as far as
somebody introduces you according to that title, you need to say, wait a minute. That's only one of the many things I am. I'm also this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And would you like to learn about all the others? Because every human being is 100 times more than they are titled. Every human being has more titles than you could ever imagine. Because we are so many things. We have so many skills and so many abilities and so many differences, and we are so valuable in so many ways that it is what makes us not animals. Now, you can call a dog forever, and nobody cares. But you call a person something other than what they are, and you have created a problem for yourself. People have a right to be called what they want to be called. If you want to be called white, I'll call you white, but I'll know it's a lie. If you want to be called black, I'll call you black, but I'll know it's a lie. And I'll say black in quotation marks, and I'll say white in quotation marks. Because I will not accept the titles that people came up with in the 1500s.
Exactly.
If we haven't learned anything since the 1500s, we're a really poorly civilized country.
Exactly. Now, when we're talking,
am I making any sense to you at all?
Oh, tremendously, absolutely. And I want to ask you this question based on what you. I just want to ask you this question based on what you just said. We talked about racism and how we need to get past that. Should this exercise be individual or should it be a group effort?
It should be a daily effort on the part of every individual to destroy the lie of several different races. Every human being on the face of the earth, particularly in the United States, should be determined to destroy the lie of several different races. There's only one. And if all of us decide to do it, we can get rid of it. I remember when Franklin Roosevelt knew that he was going to have to fight the Second World War. And it took him, after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, it took him about 6 months to get this country into a mood where we were all determined to fight the Japanese and the Germans and the Italians. It took us 6 months. And then after that, don't mess with us because we were not going to allow that nonsense to go on anymore. And in 4 short years, we won the Second World War. And it was fought against horrendous odds in the beginning because we weren't ready for a war. Franklin Roosevelt got us ready for a war in 6 months. We need somebody today who will get us ready for a war against racism.
Yes.
And if we did that, we could solve this problem in 6 months.
Wow.
We defeated the Germans in 4 years. We could solve the problem of racism from the kindergarten to the 4th grade, we could solve the problem of racism in that group of kids. And in the next group coming up, and the next group coming up, and the next group coming up, and we could solve the problem of racism if we decided to fight it. And we have to. That's what we have to do. Because if we don't, it will destroy this nation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is the rot of racism, has it embedded itself? Because I say it in that way because if you have an apple and a bushel of apples and there's one in there that's bad, you could reach in and pour that one out, discard it, and be done with it, and you still have the rest of them that's there. How deep is the rot of racism here in America?
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not the rot. It's the willingness to go along to get along. It's the need of people to be accepted. I don't care whether people accept me. I don't give one, pardon my saying it, good goddamn whether or not people accept me.
Yes, ma'am.
The fact is that I'm just another member of the human race, and I happen to be a lighter shade of brown. It doesn't give me rights. It doesn't give me privileges. It simply means that I don't stay out in the sun in the summertime because I don't want to turn bright red.
Yes, ma'am.
It has skin color, as far as I'm concerned, is simply has no importance whatsoever because it does not determine what your character is. But the way somebody without character treats you because of their ignorance about skin color, that can change the way you feel about them, but you must not allow it to change the way you feel about yourself. You have to realize that the way you feel about yourself is your control, and nobody else's. It took me like 55 years to realize that they can call me every name you could lay your tongue to, and I don't have to live down to their expectations of me. They still haven't destroyed what I am.
That's good. And
can I ask you another question? I'm sorry, Raheen.
Sure, go ahead.
So basically, you're saying if I'm going to work on destroying racism, I have to examine myself and make sure I'm not operating in racism in order to be effective, correct?
You have to operate in a racist situation, but you can destroy the racist situation that you're operating in. It has to be your determination to rid this country, your community, your family, your home, your brain of the idea of several races and the superiority of one depending on skin color. First, you have to get it out of yourself, and then you have to get it out of the people around you that you care about. Because if you care about them, you don't want them to continue to think in ways that are absolutely asinine.
Exactly.
And to treat people positively or negatively on the basis of your mistaken ideas about skin color is asinine. And you have to give it up. You have to give it up first, and then you won't have to deal with other people because they'll stay away from you. And when they stay away from me, I say, fine.
Hold on.
If they stay away from me, I don't have to deal with them.
Exactly.
But that doesn't change what
Hold on. Let me do this. I have to do this right here because somebody we have a viewer that's watching in London, and he told me to make sure that I tell you, Dr. Elliott, hello from London. He wanted to say hello to you from London. He or she wanted to say hello to you from London. And the phone line.
Hello from Iowa, from California.
There you go.
I'm glad to talk to somebody from London.
Exactly. And the phone lines are open. We're gonna take only two. We only got a few more minutes before we get out of here. We're gonna take two calls. We're gonna open up the line for two callers. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. If you want to have an opportunity to ask a question, one question, you only get one question because we own the time. Time is of essence right now. And so the phone lines are open. 508-924-3521. Dr. Elliott, let me ask you this question. Of everything that you have experienced in the fight that you've been fighting for years now, what has been the one thing that has surprised you the most in this fight?
My father saying, after he saw the film of my third graders going through that exercise, taking his red handkerchief out of the back pocket of his bib overalls, blowing his nose, wiping his eyes at the age of 60 and saying, I wish somebody had taught me that when I was 9
Wow.
years old.
Wow.
My father, at the age of 60, learned from his daughter, who was the dummy of I was the dummy of my family, learned from him, from my third graders, something he hadn't learned from church or parents or education or magazines or television or anything else. He learned something that day from those little third graders. He didn't learn it from me. He learned it from those little third graders and what they went through. Yes. And he wished somebody had taught him that when he was 9 years old. It would have changed his life.
How did that impact you? Seeing that and experiencing that, how did that impact you, or did it impact you at all?
Anybody who could criticize me after that, all I had to say to myself was, Dad said he wished he'd learned this when he was 9 years old.
That's good.
He was a wise man.
Yes.
He didn't have a degree, but he had wisdom, common sense in uncommon amounts. He had wisdom. And if my dad said it was right, it must be right.
There you go. There you go. I think somebody had a question.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
So I touch on something quite often on the radio show that Raheen hosts in the mornings. Of we can't allow ourselves to be separated by race, by tribe, by not even disability. We have to figure out how to come together as one to fight the bigger issues. And as long as we talk in forms of separation, the problem will never go away. What do you think about that?
That's right. That's absolutely right. We have to be part of the group. We have to be one of the members of the group that are going to make this country rise or fall. And we have to do it together. And we have to read the book Erasing History, because it is a story of how fascists rewrite the past to control the future. For God's sake, get that book and read it.
Recommended reading for today. Make sure you all go out and get that book and read it. Don't just get it, but make sure you read it as well.
Read it. Erasing History by Jason Stanley. Erasing History by Jason Stanley. You've got to read it, because I've read it and I've underlined it so often that it's practically all black, because I've underlined so many things in it. It's absolutely essential that everybody read it.
Good deal. Good deal. Dr. Jordan, do you have a question and or comment?
Do I have a question or a comment?
No, Dr. Jordan.
No, I'm grateful that I have had the opportunity to hear the wisdom that she shared on racism and all the other things that go on.
Wait a minute. You have to realize that any great wisdom that I have about racism, I got from people who have been on the receiving end of this crap all their lives. I would not know. I know I hadn't learned it from people who have lived with it. So I take no credit for what I know. I give the credit for what I know to the people who taught it to me.
Yes.
And that's people like Martin Luther King Jr., who wasn't perfect in every aspect, but he was right in what he was saying about skin color.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'm looking at the clock. I said I was going to.
No, I'm done, Raheen. I'm done.
I said that we was going to be here for about an hour, and we're right at an hour right now, so we're about to wrap it up. And I hope that we can actually do a part 2, 3, 4, or 5 to this particular conversation. I don't do interviews, but this conversation that we had today, I wish there was a way that we could do it again. But is there anything that you'd like to say, Dr. Elliott, in your closing? Is there anything you would like to say? And if people want to get in contact with you, if people want to reach out to you, is there any way that they can do that?
I hope that in my lifetime, the necessity for this kind of conversation dies. I hope that people who are shades of brown and have been shades of brown all their lives and knew it all their lives and have managed to tolerate those of us who think we aren't shades of brown, I hope that they continue to tolerate us, but to educate as well as tolerate us. DEI should stand for dedication, education, and inspiration. And those 3 words are extremely important if we want to solve the problem of the ignorance of thinking skin color is an indicator of intelligence or worth as a human being.
Absolutely.
It is so nonsensical that I see absolutely no reason and no worth in the idea of race at all.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Good deal. It's been a great broadcast. I want to thank everybody for joining. And before I even do that, Dr. Elliott, again, I want to thank you. Thank you for giving us the time and opportunity to have this conversation with you. We definitely appreciate it. And I look at it as an honor. So thank you very much. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you for the honor. I appreciate it. All right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And on that note, we're about to end for today. You've been listening to the Raheen Ashimi Show. It is now time for us to get out for today. But before you leave, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we are certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. Then we shine some of this light on you from the Raheen Ashimi Show. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in, and let your light so shine. You get an opportunity, give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? And have a great day.
Wait. Give somebody justice, and they don't care whether you love them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You all have a great day.
Be careful about that. We have misused the word love too often. I set up a society, and I said to you, I'm going to guarantee you love or justice. If you get love, you might not get justice. If you get justice, you might not get love. How many of you would vote to get justice? And everybody votes to get justice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That could be a part of our next conversation, Dr. Elliott. We can talk about love and justice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Talk
Good.
to you then. Goodbye now.
All right. Take care of yourself. Y'all have a great evening.
You too.
Get ready. I want you to get ready. Only thing I want you to do is to be ready. This is the broadcast that will talk about open and honest conversations every time we come live. I want you to get ready. Get ready. Prepare yourself. Things happen all the time. There's always things coming at us. Get ready. Strap your seatbelt on real tight and get ready because you are embarking in. This is
The